From the sounds you hear on a late-night drive, from the cracks in the walls speaking to you in the dead of night, from the spaces in between, this is Dusklight Radio, hosted by yours truly, Everett J. Blackwell. What do you think of our new intro, listeners? I think it adds a little bit of zest and intrigue to our radio show as we continue to grow. I hope you don't mind. Change is a little bit scary, but here at Dusklight Radio, we're all about making those changes. And in honor of Season 7's premiere, we have decided to do something a little bit special in the lead up to TJ's birthday. That's right, from now until September 1st, we are going daily. Oh yes, so tune in at the same time every night for some wonderful Dusklight content to kick off Season 7. Now, today's tale is an important one. You see, it's a part of the Antlion series, and this one tends to move around perspectives more than the other chapters. And in order to make sure that you follow the story appropriately, we've included an audio sting so you know when a scene is transitioning. It sounds something like this. When you hear that sound, you know the scene is over and we're moving to a new perspective. I would also like to remind you that if you haven't heard any of the other Antlion chapters yet, this is going to be immensely confusing. So maybe go back and check out chapters 1 through 11 before you come to this one. Just a friendly suggestion. With that, the sun has set and dusk has crawled into the studio once more. Whether you're working, prepping to sleep, or evading the formless void that will one day consume us all, Blackwell is here to soothe your ears and captivate your soul. Now, close your eyes and take a deep breath. The scene has been set and the light is on. It's time to walk towards it. It's almost complete darkness in the mausoleum, rain beating down hard on its finely crafted roof, the sound hammering and echoing around the building as Phineas slowly regains consciousness, blinking and grabbing at his head before spying the waterlogged entrance and the shuffling outside. He knew immediately where he was and what this meant. Rushing to the corner, he pulled out his phone. No service as before, and immediately opened up the Notes app. Eyes darting up to the now animated entrance where some muffled squelches and groans can be heard, he began typing furiously, the only light stemming from his cracked phone screen. I awoke in the very center of my nightmares, the crypt within which my greatest sin was committed. It was here that I wrote that any person possessing a sliver of a conscience should feel a responsibility for those around them, even those we only come into contact with for a short period of time. I spoke those words as if I was referring to those who were sent to the cemetery that I tended to. But that was a most egregious lie. I was speaking of my own duties as a brother, as a confidant, as a friend. I failed my sibling, and I knew even as I put pen to paper that night, I was not confessing the sin of ignorance, but the aid and abetting of making the person Lux would ultimately become. I know why I was brought here. Gael Bennett seeks to mock me during what could be our final hours. He says it is a test to see if we're worthy. But I know the man behind the mask too well. No, this is a final insult. A last strike below the belt before he sits on his throne of skulls and sinew. He needs no torture, for he got that the night of the storm. He needs no confessional, for he got that during the Shark Tank. This is pain for pain's sake, and he will be watching from on high with glee as I take my final breaths. What a cruel, spiteful little man my big brother is. So full of hatred and abandonment is he that he would rather turn that outward to the world instead of honing it into something beautiful. Oh, I am hardly better, keeping my disdain inward and isolating myself instead, feeling little anger beyond my peace being disturbed. I suppose I'm much more like my mother in that way, whereas he... The light flickers and Phineas sees, for just a moment, the visage of death in the far corner. Limbs splayed out against the walls as if coiled like a spring, the veil hanging and gently swaying in the stale air. She looks ready to pounce. What will become of me when I am summarily torn apart? Will I continue to experience pain once my mind stops functioning? Science says the head can continue to experience and transmit signals for seconds after being severed from the body. That in some religions a person's soul is so intrinsically tied to the flesh that it can suffer torment even after being separated. I've never been a religious man, but if my patron lifts her veil and takes me, will it be an easy passing? Will I be judged harshly? Do you want to know the saddest irony of me? Despite my utter fascination with death, I am terrified of the nothingness above all things. No matter how often I experience it, read about it, see it, or discuss it, I am petrified of the sheer notion that all my desires, ambitions, loves, hates, and mild inconveniences will one day be an afterthought. That through disease, misadventure, homicide, or old age, I will one day close my eyes, and my soul will make the great leap to the beyond which we all return to, and no longer will I have sensation. I will return to the state I was before life, but with the burden of having experienced everything for a flicker and never getting it again. No reunions, no happy endings, no brimstone, no communication, or sensation. Ceaseless void. Ad infinitum. Once more the phone glitches, and the patron of death moves closer. She's now just a few steps from Phineas's huddled position at the opposite side of the mausoleum, her frame floating as she begins to reach for her veil. I deserve this. I cannot look upon the face of someone like Asani or Bennett and accuse them of being corrupted souls without acknowledging my part in this whole affair. Caesar was stabbed 23 times, and whilst history only remembers Brutus, there were other conspirators who met equally unsavory fates in this world and the next. It is not for me to pass this test. I am a strange, unlovable, awkward abomination of a man. I cannot keep eye contact. I loathe human interactions. I speak like a man out of time, and I am fully aware of my obsession with death. It is time I face the fear and embrace the journey. The light flickers once more as the hands reach for the veil and begin to lift. Phineas's eyes grow wide, and an unholy shriek reverberates around the mausoleum as the entrance begins to open. Transcription started. 10th of April. Unknown.
This is the Sturgeon Museum for Fine Arts. Our opening hours have been and gone. You missed them, just like you miss everything. You missed your chance at love, you missed your twins' desperate signs for security, and you missed any hope of a normal life. Leave your message at the tone.
This is Luke Gerhardt. I don't recall making this phone call. One moment I was standing out on the lake and then... I see. I'm back here. Oh, he put me back where he wanted me the most. like a fucking beetle in an enclosure to look at, prod, and poke, so everything I'm seeing, hearing, it's all designed to make me feel worse. My own hell, huh? May as well throw Minerva in for good measure. Is she here too? Fine. Okay, you want to play this game? I'll play along. Yes, I missed out. It's called taking a risk. I risked opening myself up to someone and rushing into something I wasn't ready for, but I had an experience, and I learned more about myself along the way, so fucking what? I got my heart broken and realized maybe I don't just like girls, or maybe I don't care about gender. I grew as much as I hurt. I can't take back my cowardice with Lux. But if they forgave me, I could forgive myself.
Transcription started. 28th of May. Unknown.
This is the Gahart family estate. Unfortunately, we cannot come to the phone right now, because we're all dead. You abandoned us. You let our house fall into ruin, and our legacy became that of blood, bile, and bitterness. Your inaction toppled a dynasty. Your mother and father died slumped in their chairs from alcohol poisoning, and were fed on by wildlife for 2 weeks before a welfare check was even called. Saunders died alone of a broken heart. Oliver didn't come to the funeral because he was still so far away, trapped in a hell of his own making. Phineas was found buried in a shallow grave. He tried to claw his way out, and suffocated. Bennett got what he wanted in Lux, and both shed this mortal coil in favor of something more, leaving you behind forever. Here, you will remain. At least the stars look beautiful, right? But if you leave your name, business, and intent, we'll call you back as soon as we can.
No. You're wrong. I take blame where it is justified, but I didn't. I couldn't. Wait. What did you say about the stars?
The Diary of Rodney Saunders.
It has been almost 50 years, and I found myself back in the mountain I once ventured to as a young man. It's almost like walking back into your childhood home after a lifetime away, no longer the person you once were, and now returning with a lifetime of burdens, pain, and experience. I never thought I'd make it back to these caverns, but I am also not the least bit surprised. In my heart of hearts, this was the place I chose to rest these weary bones. And as I hear you moving in the darkness, your scent becoming more familiar and tinged with that of unfettered bloodlust, I know that there is no better way for me to serve you than dying at your hand. It may not have been the life I always dreamed of, nor the one I dared to fantasize over in quiet moments of selfishness. But I regret nothing. I lived fully, and I loved entirely. I only wished it could have been done with you, but a life of regrets is a life well lived. I'll stay by your side until the end, just as I did 50 years ago, Oliver. I accept my fate. Forever yours, Saunders.
Dictation started.
This is the first of 3 autopsies I will be conducting this evening. It is 1:57 in the morning on the 18th of December, 2024? Yes, 2024. Apologies. My name is Dr. Miles Bancroft, and I am the senior coroner in Dondella County. I believe I was called in last minute to assess this. Our latest doe found on the outskirts of the industrial district within Dondella's borders. They were found in the fetal position by a Samaritan and brought here. External examination. Summary. The first body is presented in a black body bag. They were recorded on file as male, aged between 50 and 60 years, mixed heritage, and measuring 74 inches in length, weighing 188 pounds, and generally consistent with the age bracket specified.
Dr. Miles Bancroft, senior coroner in Dondella County, was tragically found dead last night. Police say he was beaten to death by vigilantes in a home invasion.
I will do my job. I will do my job. I will put names to these victims. I will not fail them. That is my duty. That is my oath. If I'm still here, then that body on the table cannot be me. Internal examination. Summary. Central nervous system. The brain weighs 1,380 grams and is within normal limits. This is the brain of a healthy male in his mid to late 40s. It is one of great character, strong conviction, and description of injuries. Summary.
Witnesses say that Dr. Bancroft was dragged from his house and was then forced to watch as they burned the house with his husband and son still asleep or restrained inside. All because of his inability to protect that which matters most, to toe the line and keep his head down like a good boy. Now others will suffer for his brazen self-righteousness.
Opinion. Time of death. It was 3 a.m, a normal winter's night. We were safe and we were happy. Cause of death. Me. I need to save everyone. Butt in where I shouldn't. Speak out when I needn't. I brought this plague on our family. Manner of death. Arson.
Act 6. Harper's Wake. Act 6, Scene 1. The door to Harper's Wake. Lux stands at the door. Everything has led to this moment. All they need to do now is open it.
It is finally time. Are you ready to step through the door and meet Nulldus? The moment you step through, this world will finally understand what divinity means. They will either ascend or become food for their new masters.
And what will happen to you? Well, I'm through the door. What is it you're doing?
I'll get my reward for a crusade completed. Watch over my kingdom of ashes until you come back to take the throne. When you return, I will give you your inheritance. Everything you went through, everything Bennett went through. It was all for this.
What will I find over there? What awaits me in Harper's Wake?
Divinity. It is time for you to meet those who gave us these gifts and become one of them. show them what you've done and what you're capable of. I have no doubt they'll recognize you as one of their own.
Lux nods and turns to the partially open door, the soft blue light crackling as they approach, before being pulled inside with force.
The long crusade is almost over. We now need only wait. This is the final test.
Act 6, Scene 2. Unknown. Once more, Lux floats in the nothingness as something writhes, twists, and twitches into a tangible form in front of them. Cloaked in stars and dust, it begins to speak.
You have returned again, my child. I see that this time it is on much different terms. What is it you ask of me?
I have traveled a long path to get here, to see you again. First time we met, I had no idea what the hell you were, what you represented. You put me back together after the horrors beset upon me. You gave me the chance to learn who I was and who I am. If it weren't for that journey through the Null realm, well, I wouldn't be standing here now.
You mean with the identity as an inheritor of the gifts your family possesses? You do not need to thank me for such trivialities, Lux. This was always destined to occur. I simply played my part in its conception.
You are all-knowing, so you're aware that is not what I was referring to. What I don't understand is why you haven't intervened to stop any of what's happened or what will happen. I'm here to find Harper's wake, to meet the creatures that live within it who have been trying to enter our reality for millennia, and let them through. I'm the conduit, strong enough to bridge the gap with Gael and let them fully pass through the door. Why would you let me willingly do this?
Lux holds out their arms, a defiant look upon their face.
Kill me. Erase me. Do to me what you gods would do to any disobedient subject or errant beast that did not heed its master. I'm a monster, and I will bring about ruin. End me!
Nulldus floats forward, towering over Lux before opening its cloak and embracing them.
I am not all-powerful, nor am I able to intervene any more than you can manifest a world without manifestation. There are always limits, my child. Gods are just another form of life, and while they are all-powerful in one reality, they are confined to it. Stepping beyond it makes them vulnerable, limited, fallible. I cannot stop you because I am not able to. You will not be killed because you do not deserve to be.
Lux begins to tear up, nails digging into the cloak.
But I swore, on your name, I would be the monster the world wanted if I got out of that coffin. I promised you I would do whatever it took to survive if the world turned its back on me. I have done terrible things to get here. I do not deserve to continue.
You called to me for help, and I answered. Not for gain, not for retribution, but because you are one of my children, and you needed me. Do you know where I come from, Lux?
Harper's wake? Another entity beyond the door that has existed alongside us for as long as we walk the earth, if not longer?
In part, yes. But I also come from you, from collective consciousness. I'm one of Harper's wake subjects, yes, but I am given name and form by you. Nulldus, the absent god of form and gender, who protects those who flitter between worlds and identities, who look to find their true selves and face untold violence for choosing happiness over a life of internal struggle. I may be an ancient beast, but you gave me this form. You are not a monster who takes life, Lux. You are a beautiful thing that creates it, just like your ancestors.
What? You mean my grandfather?
Nulldus steps back, a small hall opening up beneath the pair that they gently float through, into the kingdom of Angleron, many centuries ago.
Not quite, Lux. It's much, much older than that. There's still one big secret to be revealed.
Act 6, Scene 3. Ruins. Nulldus and Lux continue to drift downwards from the heavens, observing the remaining peasants of Angleron clearing up their dead and the rubble in the aftermath of the Great Calamity.
The kingdom of Angleron in the year 1587, the culmination of the Nameless War, roughly a month after the events of the coronation that wiped Angleron off the map. You are familiar with this, naturally.
Yeah, I loved ancient history, and I had a lot of early memories of being read stories of Angleron by my grandpa as a kid. I ended up helping him to translate the play into modern texts a couple years back. He loved the legend of Angleron almost as much as the hidden people of Octon and the Last Giant.
Then you'll recognize the two people down there amid the wreckage of the royal palace.
Nulldus points and Lux sees two young people directing the peasants to lift specific pieces of the rubble, immediately recognizable as Vedanta and Prince Fallon, respectively.
But they disappeared. They left during the final days of the chronicled events and never showed up in history again. Scholars said that the Bard of Dondella took liberties, and it was likely they either died during the calamity or were killed in a skirmish. None of the royal family or noted dignitaries survived the events. That's why only hearsay and some basic records existed from the peasant class and nearby ambassadors. Otherwise, we'd know even less.
Who was the Bard of Dondella?
Lux pauses, fixated on the people below and the mystery in front of them.
We must clear as much rubble as possible before sunset. We have just a few days until migration. We must be swift.
We know not all of you will join us in our sojourn to the north, but we promise to try and take care of as many of you as possible. Failing that, please never forget what happened here and tell these stories to your kin. Do not be afraid to embellish or mystify it if it keeps the legend alive. You must never fade into obscurity, nor the horrors of unchecked ambition.
Whatever you say, my Emperor, we will always be loyal to you.
No, I cannot be your Emperor. I carry within me the same curse that befell my family, and it must never be worshipped or idolized. You must understand that I am but a normal man now. I only wish to learn and live quietly. There is a small settlement in the north. We will start a life there. It will not be a royal dynasty, but it will be my own. Our own. Vedanta holds his hand gently and smiles before the two nod and resume work clearing out the rubble.
Who was the Bard of Dondella, Lux?
You're saying the last living heir to the kingdom of Angleron and the court soothsayer migrated to Dondella, and one of their descendants was the Bard?
Anonymous to protect the identity of the royal family, which had become humble and private by the time of their settling and establishment as a family name.
Family name? They didn't settle as the de Fredericks?
Once wed, Fallon opted to take Vendantis' last name to hide his lineage, saying he was simply named after the prince due to the popularity of his name when born. Vedantis' last name was unique, old, and derived from the term to mean a brave warrior or a strong-willed person.
No.
Known today as Gerhardt. Yes, you are from that same family, Lux. Though your grandfather's abilities are pronounced and were enhanced by the incident at the door, it is through royal blood that you have this gift. That is how you came to be the conduit. Half a millennia of gestation led to today, and now you have something that can alter the lives of everyone you know and more.
The pair float up through the same hole in the sky, and upon re-emerging, a set of screens showing Phineas, Lou, Bancroft, Saunders, and others in turmoil play around them. A pair of doors on either side of this endless expanse.
You have the option of choice.
You are O.F. Province. You were born in St. Martin's General Hospital on the 23rd of November, 1992. You were premature and spent 3 weeks in an incubator. Your parents said you rarely ever cried and were a quiet baby. But when you started talking, you never stopped. You loved Mighty Max, Care Bears, and Animorphs growing up. People sometimes gave you shit for the stark contrast, but you didn't mind. You became a journalist because the first person you ever trusted outside of your parents systematically lied to you and abused your good nature. It was only when you tracked down their activities and later confronted them with the facts that you got the thrill of investigative reporting. But it didn't stop your broken heart. You remember all of this because for a few moments upon waking up, you don't know who you are, where you are, or why you're there. All you know is you're sitting in absolute darkness, and when you so much as move, the noise rattles inside your skull as if you've got headphones with the volume maxed out, surgically attached to your skin. You panic, but before that panic can mold itself into something more sinister, someone opens up the door to this chamber and offers you a way out. You graciously take it and curl into a ball upon touching the welcoming sensation of carpet. The overbearing bright lights and the sickly sensation of stimulation begin flooding your brain. It's overwhelming, and it's fully welcome to you. You barely register the person who helped you, not even catching their name at first. Your mind is still adjusting, it's understandable. They don't seem offended as they lead you down a hallway to their safe zone from the, quote, thing stalking the labyrinthine halls. You ask them what the hell that even means, and they say they'll explain as you turn a corner. But they offer you one bit of sage wisdom.
Don't focus on any of the paintings for too long. This guy's artwork is seriously immersive, and not in a good way.
You nod and get to your feet properly, the crimson faded gold and white Persian patterns bringing up memories of motels as a kid, alongside the almost yellow hue and earthly scent permeating your surroundings. As you pass down a narrow hall and far away from the large steel door where you were encased, it doesn't take you long to realize something. These hallways are virtually identical. Every single one has a chipped corner on the second intersection, a flickering bulb halfway down, and an askew painting. There's always a decaying plant on the left and a non-functioning clock on the right. The hallways change size and the routes are never the same, but the indicators are. Your mind reels and you ask where the hell you are. Your guide throws their hands in the air.
Hell if I know. I ended up here a while ago, and my best guess is it's still a waiting room, of sorts. This is just one small section. You have to find the outlier to get to the next spot. I only found you because that steel door is almost always open. It's kind of like a trapdoor, but one you have to be enticed into. You got lucky that I was in the area. But now, we gotta move on before it catches up to us.
They sigh and pause on turning the next corner, hands on hips as they spy an errant painting at the end.
Finally! Okay, stick close. This is gonna be rough.
You watch as the painting grows bigger the closer you get. It's a set of office cubicles in a dismal-looking building. Toppled over chairs, incomprehensible calendars and smashed mugs litter the floor as they stand at its base. Your guide giving you one quick nod before leaping through, the material on the canvas rippling before settling once more. You don't ask how. You simply follow and pray for the best. Once on the other side, you see your guide crouched behind a cubicle. Far more of them packed together than previously implied on the canvas.
They wave you over, and as you sneak, something crunches underneath your boot. A fragment of a mug. Then you hear the shriek echoing from the far end of the room, the beating of wings followed by the sound of something large stomping its way through the hall, and a look of terror on your guide's face.
The golden golem. If it catches us, we'll become part of it. We have to move. The exit should be on the other side of this building. Stay close, and whatever you do, do not look at it.
You ask why, and your guide's eyes twitch, a bead of sweat running down their head before answering.
Because it's supposed to be an angel. To look upon it will make you go mad. But honestly, I think if you stare at it, it'll be the last thing you ever do. Because that fucking thing eats people. Now move.
You nod and follow along, sneaking from cubicle to cubicle as best you can. Your guide is nimble and clearly knows their way around the rooms. You assume they've been here a long time, but you can't be sure. The golem is in the room. It could be 50 feet away, or just 10. You're not able to tell. It sniffs, snorts, and growls as it topples over the cubicle structures in search of you, determined to add you to its mass. But you're quick, and with your guide's help, you make it to the other side. Unfortunately, your guide neglected to tell you something vital about the golem. Maybe they didn't know or simply forgot, but it would ultimately be your downfall. Angels can change form. And this one calls out to you in a voice you haven't heard in a while. One that makes you turn on pure instinct. It's the voice of Silas.
Province? Is that you? I swear that's your aftershave. I'd know it anywhere. What are you doing in a place like this? Come on, man. Talk to me. I want to go home. I miss you. We've got a lot to catch up on. How long's it been?
Silas? No. Oh no, we buried you months ago. Your guide tries to call to you, but it's already too late. You turn, and the last thing you see is an amorphous mass of eyes, gray flesh, faces twisted in agony, and things your brain can't begin to make sense of. Except for one simple fact. The golem has found you. Act 6, Scene 4, The Expanse. Lux stares at the screens, each of their loved ones and associates struggling with their own personal nightmares, as Nulldus observes quietly.
What do you mean, choice? I already made the choice to go through the door to be here. There is nothing else to think about.
Yet you linger.
They're being tested. I don't want to see any further harm come to them, But
monsters don't care for such trivialities, do they? A part of you recognizes they should suffer as you suffered, while the other wants to stay true to your old self, so you linger.
Lux turns their attention back to the screens, watching as each faces the threat beginning to encroach in their own personal nightmare.
The door to Harper's wake is to your left. The one to Octon is to your right. You can travel into the realm and bridge the gap, or go back empty-handed.
I suppose there's no escaping it. I know what I have to do, and I've come this far. You already know what I'm going to do, don't you?
Indeed you have, and yes, I do. I'm proud of you, for whatever that may be worth.
The two embrace again before Lux takes a deep breath and heads towards the door to Harper's wake.
This was always my path. You just helped me realize it. Thank you for always protecting me. You were the one person I knew I could always rely on.
I know no other way than to look after you, as I do all of my children.
Lux smiles and passes through the door as the screens begin to go off one by one, eyes opening around the expanse and a great trembling erupting through the space as Nulldus fades into the abyss again.
After all, I exist in your image.
Every action we undertake has an equal and opposite reaction. This is known as Newton's third law of motion, and while it primarily applies to the laws of physics, I think it's safe to say that it applies to virtually every decision made in life. From the moment we are born, we make decisions that cause ripples within our sphere of influence. We cry and we're attended to. We laugh and we're doted on. As we get older, these become conscious decisions, and while the reactions may be subtle or even imperceptible, they exist and continue to doggedly follow us throughout our lives. They are neither intrinsically positive or negative in their intent, though the outcome itself is dependent on circumstance. But they always occur, and one day, they will end up with us once more. Our chickens will come home to roost. As I stepped through the doorway, I knew full well that this was the moment I had been waiting for. The time when my actions would bear fruit and catch up with me simultaneously. Two ships crossing in the night that would almost certainly never do so again in my short life. But they only needed to cross once, for a brief glimpse, to ensure the world would forever be changed. To explain Harper's wake is to try and explain a half-remembered fever dream 5 months after it occurred, and with only passing iconography still sticking to the outer linings of your hippocampus. It is imperceptible to normal humans and beyond words when describing the physics, colors, and sensations. The closest approximation I can give would be to imagine a series of megastructures, folding and refracting on themselves like a sentient, amorphous mass, reacting to every movement I made as I walked closer to its entrance. It was tinged in silver, phosphorescence glinting off of every single cubic inch of structure, thanks to the pair of black and gold suns hanging in the sky above. I have tried to manifest the proper words and approximations, but this is the closest I can come to when projecting my words into the material you will find on your desk long after this is over, Province. I hope it suffices. On the outskirts, I met the emissary, a creature of great power that took the form of a grand monolith with a single eye. It called itself Jatau, and asked me what my purpose within Harper's Wake was. I told it of my journey, of the abilities I possessed, of the plans my brother and teacher Gael had for the world I hailed from. It listened intently, before asking what I planned to do now that I was there, at its gates. Once I responded, a smile formed across the monolith, and it started to sing.
It had been half a minute or so since the others were dragged beyond the grand structure, the rumbling around us beginning to fill the basin and reverberated off the sides, an unholy feedback loop as the blackened skies responded to its dulcet tones with an ear-shattering crack. Just as Gael had foretold, the trumpets above were heralding the end of all things. Those still on this side of the door dropped to their knees, some prostrating at Gael's feet, others in despair. None dared to look up at what was being unleashed in the heavens, knowing that there was no recourse if they fled. Gael simply placed a finger to his lips as his eyes met mine, and he pointed to my notes, instructing me to transcribe his thoughts. I did not argue. I was in no position to. I simply nodded and made my way closer to him, as if walking into the open jaws of a lion. what choice did I have? Before the unspeakable horrors ravaged our lands, its gatekeeper wanted his final doctrine transcribed for all to hear. Hands glowing bright, he tore a series of small holes in the fabric of reality with that accursed manifestation ability. Sturgeon Central, Mantis Bay, Minosha County, Coralla Dondola, all viewed from far, far above in the skies. His booming voice echoing to its denizens as horrific chimeras of unknowable chasms clicked, growled, and salivated around the viewport. This was to be Gael's last diatribe.
Down in central Sturgeon, the day of the Fireflies was fast approaching. Once a year, all those who had lost someone near and dear gather in Central Street and head towards the Grand Umbral Door, a structure propped up on support beams erected each year by pilgrims of the Fireflies, a small but dedicated religious sect. And one by one, they will whisper a small affectation to the lost, slipping their trinket or possession through a small slat on the center of the door. Some offer unsent letters, others a small vial of perfume, food, and flowers, which are less common, but are equally accepted. Once the offering is sent, should it be accepted, the lost one will appear to the sender in a dream or semi-waking state within that 24-hour period. They will converse, embrace, and love once more, before it fades and dissipates for another year. Such is the nature of the Firefly. It is on the dawn of this auspicious day that Gael's voice echoes through the streets, stopping vendors, drivers, and all who hear it in their tracks. Transfixed both by his words and that of the visage in the skies above, steadily revealing itself unto them.
Those who proliferate in the metropolis, that grand schism of insects skittering about and polluting the land, I offer you a just reward for your gluttony and your avarice. For as Sturgeon grew to poison the lands, so too did its ambitions, birthing cultures of individualism so potent you would sooner step over the body of your dying comrade if it meant a promotion than check on their well-being. No helping hands for those who are different. Instead, you elect to cast them out. Vote for radical reform that will punish those outside of the go-getting attitude that comes with being the best fit cog for the hungriest of machines. But that machine is steadily bleeding to death. Sturgeon Heights. It is choking on its own bloated ambition, and by freezing out those who could help turn it into something beautiful, it has sealed its own fate. The monster that you see before you was honed by your hand. For every warning of the Antlion, your own people fueled me, nurtured me, gave me shelter. You who once championed the arts and the beauty of that which you now ignore. You who chose profit and singular wealth over betterment of a society. I sentence you to be devoured in the very same way you have sought to inflict on others.
With his words spoken, the skies gave way to a series of amorphous masses, fitted with mouths that stretched from spine to hip. Teeth both blunt and sharp littered the cavity, an oily tongue stretching out and curling around its hindquarters. The flesh tough and leathery, an eye centered on the tongue as well as two pairs on the shoulders. They flew through the air like cannonballs, smashing into the ground to begin rapidly devouring those nearby. The line for the door made them easy prey. A young man offering up an unsent letter to the woman he loved the most, taken from him at only 21 by disease. He only had time to do one thing before the hulking beast cleared the distance and opened its mouth to devour him. Closing his eyes, he turned away and placed the letter through the slat in the door as his world went black. All remaining of him was his hand, clutching onto the small indent in the door where the shutter sat,
hoping his letter reached her. Similar intonations began ringing out over Mantis Bay, Minotia, and Kerala, the fishing, mining, and military cities thriving in the midday sun. Mantis Bay residents relishing a bountiful harvest from the fishermen, many gathering in the center of the wharf for a community feast, a place to tell stories and reforge bonds. For the hardy denizens of Minotia, they took luncheon in the Church of St. Martin's, those who could not attend busying themselves in the mines and surrounding forests. For Kerala, the walled city shrouded in secrecy, they elected to focus on the usual military drills, weapons tests, and dignitary meetings. They had no time for such frivolity. These small snapshots, however, are all that will ever be gleaned, for Gael sent each of them the same passage.
Those who hide intent beneath the depths in Mantis Bay, that which writhe in the mud and the churches of Minotia, and those who only know the iron fist of war in Kerala, you are all guilty of sloth and pride. You all chose to turn a blind eye to the needs of your people, those seeking refuge and those who only sought a peaceful life. All of you agreeing to spy on the other in order for mutual aid, ratting out the undesirables and ensuring they met unsavory fates. Be that drowning, devouring, or destruction. You watched as Sturgeon continued its path of dominance, pushing in new ways to be cruel and chose to be cowardly. You gave me sustenance, gave me bodies, gave me tools. If Sturgeon developed me, you grew me and pretended I was a shadow on the wall once my work began. For your apathy, I sentence you to be forgotten by the pages of history. None shall recall your deeds, your cultures, your lives. You will go the way of Angleron. There is no room in paradise for you.
A fisherman sat with his family at a Mantis Bay banquet, a deacon in St. Martin's Church preaching to a busy congregation, a Kerala general drilling new recruits. All heard and all saw, as from the porthole where the voice now ceased, a new shape took its place. It looked like an upside-down triangle, and it began pulsating. In Dondela, life was continuing as normal. Posters of the Antlion littered the cobbled streets, the venues, and the police stations, blotting out many of the missing persons reports. The harvest this year was proving bountiful, and many in the bustling town would look forward to the renewal ceremony, a chance to wipe the slate clean and fix any wrongdoings. Absent this year, however, would be the big families that dominated Dondela, the Gaharts and the Downies. Rumors ran rife, as they always did, but none fully knew the details, and gossip was more enjoyable than facts, anything to make themselves feel better than those who they perceived to have it easier. One final time, Gael's voice projected itself over the skies.
Dondela, my home. You who I hoped would be better than the evils of the metropolis on our borders. You who gave me my childhood memories are guilty of the sins of pride, envy, and wrath. It is from you that this all began. My impetus. That tall manor house on the hill that you all refuse to look at will forever be a monument to the Gahart family's greatest failure. Me. I was to be your painter, your storied artist, the next in line for greatness. But I saw your reputations, your looks, your hushed words. They infected the community. They infected my father, and they ultimately infected me. You killed Bennett Cochrane Gahart, and from you was the Antlion born. When the governor swept through changes, you said nothing. When the inner sanctum was built, you turned away. When you saw our family struggle, you laughed, you snort, you were overjoyed. Because to you, suffering that is not your own, that is not from your class, is to be celebrated. You looked upon me with such anger, such jealousy, and eventually, upon our downfall, such pride. I am the farthest thing from a perfect person, and so, perhaps, I take some personal bias in that judgment. But it must be carried out, nonetheless. For you, above all others, thought you were securing a world for your kind, your people, your ideals. But oh, how wrong you were, my dear Dondellans. For this painter has brought you horrors to contend with. You will now survive these same horrors I did. You will see the monsters you made up close and personal. For I do not send you the same horrors I inflict on Sturgeon. No. I send you those very same citizens back for their vengeance. My golems will meet you soon. This is the future you chose.
The bitterness in those final words was felt by everyone below, many of which felt pangs of confusion, fear, and anger. In some, however, another emotion lingered. Guilt. Some knew this day would come in some form or another, and though pride and ego ensured they could not openly express that remorse, they felt it in their souls. However, it mattered not, as obelisk-like shapes fell to the ground, smashing into the well-kept fields, smashing roofs and cars while some slowly descended, huge angelic wings coating the sky. Ernest, a local farmer who'd been in the town for 7 decades, kept his head low while the voice spoke. Something within it commanded authority, and he knew better than to look down the barrel of a gun if an insane man was holding it. In the corner of his vision, however, he saw his grandson staring up at one of the creatures. He called to the lad, begging him to bow his head as if he were gazing upon royalty. But the boy was beyond words. His eyes growing wide and bloodshot, ears leaking and his teeth grinding before he collapsed to the floor, unresponsive. The old man instinctually ran over, checking his kin for signs of life, a way to help him. But it was too late. He was gone. In the small refraction of his grandson's eyes, he caught the briefest of glimpses of what had happened to him. Ernest was not a typically religious man. His great-grandparents were of the Abrahamic faith, but from his grandparents onwards, they were closer to more earth-based doctrines. That there was a respect you held for the earth, for the living things dwelling within it, even if they were ugly or threatening. You respected all life and honored it when it passed on. You knew there were forces beyond your understanding, and you were told to acknowledge only passively, to never communicate with that which had no earthly form or earthly language. To do so invited the gaze, that of a thing beyond Earth's influence which once invited in could cause untold damage to your soul and that of anyone bound to you. He knew, deep in his bones, that whatever was descending on him, whatever had just mercilessly killed his grandson by simply existing in this world, was not to be gazed at. And yet, at 77 years old, widowed and grief-stricken, his mind bent to the will of his floating emissary. He had lived a good life, but perhaps, if he reasoned with it, it could allow his grandson a second chance, in his place. But celestial beings are not so kind, for they do not have the capacity for such a concept. The moment Ernest looked up, infinity stretched out in front of him. He saw the countless decisions that were made to cause his existence, the choices of every pivotal stage in his life that he did or did not make, the regrets he kept with him for half a century, the lives he'd affected, the roots he'd planted, and the way they would react once he was gone. That was the part that destroyed him, the knowledge of what comes after. It's different for everyone, you see.
Some say nothing, some say it's their welcome home party, and others see the promised land from their chosen faith. But this spectre in the sky showed Ernest what awaited him, what he believed in his final moments awaited every soul who encountered these beings. Eternal servitude. To describe them fully is to describe a color beyond the spectrum, but the aftermath was apparent. The wings spread out and wrapped around Ernest as many mouths began to bite and rip. Only one command uttered by the being as it sent Ernest to be with his grandson and an unknowable void. Be not afraid.
Gael closed the ports and stared for a moment, his eyes unfocused and vacant, a tear running down his cheek. This was your plan? To erase anyone who ever emboldened the Antlion in the first place? My voice shaking, but knowing my own demise may not be far behind, I had little to lose. Gael did not make eye contact with me as he spoke, a shudder in his tone.
I realized early on that a monster is only as bad as the things that make it, fuel it, nurture it. I do not condone my behaviors. They are to be abhorred and vilified by those who do not understand my purposes with salvation. But for all the things I have done, they would not have come to pass had those places not allowed me to do so. Now, they will go through their own cicada chambers, their own trials by fire. They will blossom anew or perish in the midst of change. Those who emerge will be my thrall, my loyal followers, my kin to reap the benefits of the land's fresh soil. We will march together and subjugate this world that sought to erase us, with our crown prince leading the charge. After all, this is our inheritance, passed down through our lineage until it found not one, but two perfect suitors. Should the rest of our kin pass their tests, there will be room at the table for them, but not for those who sought bloodshed in blind fury.
I heard the screams around me, the explosions in the distance, the images of those unholy things tearing people to shreds, innocent people. My legs gave out and I found myself hyperventilating as I stared at the gravel before bringing my blurred focus to Gael once more. This will not bring anyone to your side. It will only make everyone suffer more. You cannot win with a blunt instrument, gnashing teeth, and blood on the streets, Gael. For God's sake, how can you think this was going to work? This is insanity! In the distance, the mountain shook and the followers raised their heads and glanced over, foreboding in the air as Gael took a deep breath.
This is my mad meg, my Dolgret, Chiya. I will lead these pilgrims into hell itself to get what we want and to carve a new Eden for our benefactors. Harper's wake will blend into our world and make it new. Madness is my modus operandi, and I will use it until it consumes me. Alas, there is one final thing that must be done before we can complete our mission.
Bennett's eyes shined through the bandages and detritus.
You tried, Chiya. I only wish more of you had. You will be spared the horrors, but you will chronicle them. They will all know, and when Lux returns, you will bear witness to the final acts of this theater of war. They are ever-changing. It is time I changed too.
Gael opens another portal, behind which I see a dark cavern, trinkets littering the walls and the sound of rattling chains as something large grunts. Gael smiles as he opens his arms wide.
Hello, Oliver. Shall we have a talk?
A deep roar emanates from the darkness before a chained hand reaches out to grab Gael, pulling him into the portal before it closes. A violent shaking from the mountain's peak follows. Then, it began to crack, fracture lines running from the base of the mountain all the way up to the summit. The basin we were in sporting smaller ones that stopped by the center island we stood on. It looked as if the mountain was going to erupt, burst open, and spray us with rockfall. But no. Instead, it slowly crumbled away, falling down the mountainside far from us, and in its wake sat something that evoked in me more terror than which I had seen in the portholes. It was large, spanning half of the now exposed mountain, chitinous in nature, with a shimmering hue to its carapace that glowed in the midsummer light, and, worst of all, it was steadily pulsing, revealing a grand creature within, growling, morphing, gestating. It was a chrysalis. And it was preparing to birth something new.
Most heartfelt greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlethems. I hope you've enjoyed this production from Dusklight Radio and the premiere of Season 7. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of our other transmissions. We are adding them regularly, and we'd love to have you as part of the Dusklight family by subscribing, hitting the bell of light, and Dusklight, and leave a comment for any stories you would love our many-legged runners to find. This has been an audio production of Dusklight Radio. All music you have heard has been provided by Epidemic Sound. Rigging and background work was provided by SirGorke. Editing was provided by We Try Horror and TJ Lee. Voice work was provided by TJ Lee, Vidith22, Spirit Voices, Phoenix, Shakira Dunn, We Try Horror, Saunders, and the Dark Somnium, with gracious thanks. All assets are owned by Dusklight Radio. Dusklight Radio's Season 7 theme was composed by John Moore. You could find more from John linked to the description below. I want to thank all of our patrons for making this possible. If you want to sign up, it's as little as $1 a month and you get exclusive content, early access videos and stories, updates, and more. But times are tough and we will always be grateful for support no matter what form it comes in. Financial, spiritual, corporeal, maniacal, whatever you want. It really helps us out. Dusklight gives thanks to Isaiah Thomas, Devon Weems, A-Rod Coe, Todd Hawes, Kian Colburn, Larry W., PRDL12, Jimmy Ricardo, Jack the Lad, J.I. Lara, Val Was Taken, Amy Walrath, Heather G., Dexter, Super Abyss, Morgan Ra, Dave L., Boguslaw Smalek, Goth Mommy 666, Someone Somewhere, Anj, M., Courtney Whirl, Kissy Dawn, Maddie, Kessler, Jose Ortega, Mickey Klaus, Dog River 17, Mel H, Satanist Bambi, Battered Names, Ashwolf Grey, Imani Boo, Reclusive, and Torin. Our Purple Crayon Eaters, New Recruit Dreadful Raven, E, Feeny Von Karma, Max, Phi, Ashabel, Alex, Gael Allstott, Echo Kane, Ian Hancox, Okami-san, Orphan Nuka, Calcully Zero, Christian Hatting, Amba Singh, Darkness Within, Paul J. DeSena, Justy Blue, Desert Bluffs, PV69, Sudders, Oliver Yourface, Camila Roja, Rory Shamba, Becky Sineni, Aiden, Emma, Kid Kiriyama, Creature Creations, Emily McMullen, and Smig. Our janitors, new member Obese, Ebla Nation Z, Nordic Hero, Alex Nunez, Arkham Cookie, Amy, Adrian R., Heather Cayley, Scott, Death 31, Sabiel Eclipse, Joy Flint Healy, Dux, Shane Lewis, DJ Muffin, Odd Nightborn, Alec Hansen, Oliver Topalook Natale, Kenza, Darktail, Brianna Elliott, Rosari Cardwell, Ryan Moore, Raspberry Pie, Mima, Isabel Vladislaus, Marcus Hoyer, and Ali. Our Nightmare Detectives, Jake Bullock, Fox Clifford, Mike, Melanie Schaefer, Mothman, Mama Chewy, Halo Davis, and Kikuhime 1202. Our Void Walkers, Professor Creepypasta, Rat Squatch, and Domine Silvers. And lastly, our Blackwell family members. New arrivals Toby, Michael, and Angie Blackwell, Great Uncle Vin Blackwell, the towering, chittering forest shaman, Koshka and Fly J, the terrifying twosome with a hell of a voice despite a skull for a head, Fenric Blackwell with the Garden of Eden in one hand and the life-taking scythe in the other, still with a beating heart, Sabrina Blackwell, the crotcheting protector, Bigums Blackwell, the swollest of them all, Olivia Blackwell, future playwright and thespian, Izzy Blackwell, our bug commander, TJ Blackwell, the ultimate opportunist and identity thief, Delera Blackwell, the pestilence protector and plague doctor of Battenberg, Adela Blackwell and her firemancy, innuendo, and illusions, Ethan Blackwell risking it all for esoteric artifacts in the ire of our family, Aphrodite and Wojak Blackwell, Master Armorer, Gunsmith, and Funeral Director Ashton Blackwell, writing a sonnet over his latest gun, Jackal Blackwell, don't ask what's inside the sushi, Clue Blackwell, always lurking in the corner of your eye, Tabitha Blackwell, second in swollenness, first in mining for legendary ore, and forever frenemy, to our last entrant, Papa Kyle Blackwell, coated in 3 layers of bone armor and ready to defend what he deems as rightfully his. We love and fear you, Papa. We thank you humbly for your patronage and look to see you bright and early for Dusklight orientation. Purple crayons and existential dread will be provided. And one last time, listeners, close your eyes and breathe with me. Remember, no matter how bad things are, how cruel people can be, and how heavy your shoulders may feel with the weight of the world bearing down on them, Dusklight will always be here to lift the load and provide you with some respite. Drink some passion fruit J2O, watch a video essay on your favorite old school cartoon, and sleep on the cool side of the pillow with the window open and the stars twinkling down on you. Start and end each day with kindness in your heart. You matter, you are loved, and every day is another chance. I'll see you again when the sun sets and dusk enters the station.